This is a video about my surf experience and REU research for the summer of 2023. It is August 4th and it is my last day of my summer experience. But this video doesn't start today. It starts 10 weeks ago. My name is Omar Rivera. I am from Houston, Texas, and I am attending the University of Texas at San Antonio. I'm a rising junior majoring in computer science, and this is my first REU. My REU is called Secure, Accessible, and Sustainable Transportation. The projects within consist of analyzing how we can use technology such as automation to mitigate the impact on our environment, discover vulnerabilities in transportation systems, understand design flaws that make accessibility difficult, and an overarching view of trust on technology and transportation such as automation. Dr. Siva was my mentor for the summer, along with his PhD student, Bryce Graham. The project I would be onboarded along with my co-researcher, Moeed Mughal, would be called Eye Tracking Applications for Transit. This project fell under the secure theme for the REU. Once I met Dr. Siva and Bryce, we were instructed to complete some training on HIPAA and privacy policies, as the project entailed footage that may contain identifiable information on our participants. We completed our training, but the turnaround time was 2 weeks to be approved by the IRB, so we were in a lull for the time being. Bryce took Moeed and I to the Florida Department of Transportation office near the airport to pick up some onboard units called OBUs, to have a hands-on experience with another project called the iStreet Living Lab, specifically the use of Karma to develop cooperative driving automation, CDAs, for iStreet implementation. We drove around campus and witnessed how the OBUs communicate with the roadside units called RSUs. The OBUs process RSU signals and displayed stoplight timings, pedestrian and biker warnings, and speed limits. For the rest of the wait time, I had a lot of catching up to do in order to understand and contribute to the project, as it was outside my field of expertise. I also had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Jane and two of her students, PhD student Shayna Murphy and undergraduate Ethan Smith. Shayna would be working with Moeed to analyze the ethics and interpersonal aspects of the project, while Ethan would work on calculating stopping distance of the buses based on the GPS data collected. Rice's project was part of his fellowship and collaboration with the Federal Highway Administration. Eye tracking applications for transit consisted of using eye tracking glasses on bus drivers while they drove a route. Due to a driver shortage, the experiment was conducted during spring break with only 10 participants. Each driver drove the same model bus in the same route. Bryce, Ethan, and another student at the time, Samir, took part in the data collection. They rode from the RTS headquarters to the Rosa Parks transfer station and back. Rosa Parks was the midpoint of the route, and Ethan would check the calibration of the glasses at that point. The route duration was between 15 to 20 minutes depending on traffic and if the midpoint check took time. An interview was conducted before and after the route, and this was the information Shayna and Moeed were working with. The glasses gaze data and video was stored on a phone, and the GPS and bus video was collected and handed over by Roy Donald, the Transit Operations Manager at RTS. This would be the data I would be working with. Shayna, Moeed, and Ethan had their goals, but Bryce was kind and left me to explore my own research question. I ultimately settled on runabout design and determining whether bus drivers needed to make an effort to navigate them. Fortunately, FDOT had just published their new roundabout guidebook, the last one being in 2010. I collected bus dimensions, road designs, and the wheel paths to analyze expected navigation compared to the FDOT guidelines. At first, there was a discrepancy between the guidebooks that amounted to the difference between designed for and accommodated for. It appeared as though transit vehicles were not designed for in the roundabouts, but after my findings being inconclusive based on the designs and gaze data, I took another look at the literature. It was apparent that it was a matter of language and interchangeable meanings that made me realize the charts and expected numbers signaled transit was designed for, and the vocabulary could be easily misunderstood. Bryce tasked me with looking into importing roundabout designs and bus wheel paths into AutoCAD, but I had only experience with 3D AutoCAD. For the sake of not wasting time, I asked to pivot from the endeavor as I lacked the confidence to learn in adequate time. It is at this time that I would like to note how kind and encouraging Bryce was during a time of self-doubt. I was allowed to attempt to grow and not shunned for my lack of success. Moving on from my original plans, I decided to focus on the attention span of the bus drivers. Were they acknowledging road signs and warnings? Were they looking for pedestrians at crosswalks? How often did they look in their mirrors? Ethan had been working on the GPS data, and due to no fault of his, and the sensitivity that I may inadvertently throw someone under the bus, pun intended, let's chalk it up to his findings being inconclusive. He also had to pivot to analyzing based on gaze data, but during his work he realized that the software that analyzed the gaze data was locked and we were unable to gain access to it. This meant we would have to analyze the data by our eye and manually review each frame of the video. We decided it would be best to analyze based on our discretion and identify our data as yes, no, inconclusive. Otherwise, the task would be unaccomplishable in the remaining 5 weeks we had. I used DaVinci Resolve to track areas of interest and identify by eye when the gaze would fall within those areas. After 2 weeks of analysis, Ethan managed to get the software unlocked, meaning we can now calculate gaze data by time and consistent computer analysis rather than personal intuition. This meant our work for the past couple of weeks would be scrapped. Unfortunately, the software was proprietary and the license was hardware-based. It required a USB, which meant Ethan and I would have to share time on the laptop it was on. With not much time remaining, we consolidated our efforts and chose to only analyze gaze data in relation to attention on crosswalks, roundabouts, and mirrors. However, the software didn't have the same capabilities as our video editing software to track objects. This meant we would still have to box every area of interest frame by frame. Ethan managed to finish the first video, but realized it required a better part of a day to complete. I volunteered to take up the job completely as he had other obligations and it was, after all, my full-time job. It took me roughly 7 to 10 hours per video, depending on the frequency of drivers looking around and the length of the video, which meant a video a day was my pace. Ethan stepped back in to export and analyze the data as we were getting short on time and I was solely focused on making the area of interest for the videos. We were unable to make the deadline to publish for the Transportation Research Board, but our findings were still needed for Bryce's report to the Federal Highway Administration. Overall, through our difficult work, we had many realizations on the shortcomings of the hardware, software, and methodology. Although it may seem like a downside, as a pilot study, this is actually monumental to anyone in the future wanting to conduct similar research. With our recommendations based on our work, I believe future research of this kind can have a better foundation to build on. My experience this summer was incredible, and I highly recommend taking a summer research experience, if you're not here already, that is. Now that we got through the nitty-gritty, I'd like to show you what my experience outside of work was like. But before I let the B-roll, roll, I'd like to leave you with some inspiration, maybe some words of wisdom, and hopefully not an existential crisis. If you're hesitant, or maybe you're here and you're suffering from imposter syndrome, understand you're not alone. Everyone here this summer had the same questions and doubts running through their mind. We all asked whether any of us had been told to prepare, or if there were expectations before we arrived. The answer was a resounding no. We're here to learn, to be mentored. There are no expectations, because if you're here, that means you deserve to be here. You've made it, and all you need to do is be willing to learn and adapt. Believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what research is about, asking questions. And sometimes it's okay to get an I don't know as an answer. We're breaking new ground, and not all unknowns are known. What's important is that you're making conscious decisions and questions. Here's the most important advice I can give you. If not you, then who? What this means is, if you're not willing to do it, how can you expect someone else to do it? Speak up, act, do anything but nothing. If there's a problem, speak up. If you have questions, ask them. Chances are someone else is thinking about asking the same thing, but someone needs to ask. Otherwise, the room stays silent. Most of all, make yourself known. Be outspoken, but be kind. Everyone here is in it together. Hopefully you're surrounded by people that have your best interest in mind. Now for some general words. Remember that you are not alone. Everyone here is working on something important. Whether you're watching this pre- or post-summer research, whether you're STEM, humanities, or arts, you're a part of society. No matter how small it may seem, your contributions are significant. Whether you aspire to do great things, or you want to live a humble life. Many great people have spoken words that have struck a chord with me. I hope that these words will strike a chord with you as well. I hope you enjoyed the video so far, and continue to enjoy it. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure.
If you want to change the world, you must be your very best in the darkest moments.
The power of us as a diverse group. The power that we come from all walks of life, that we come from all parts of this country, that we come from all races, we come from all backgrounds, gender, all makeup, all upbringing. The power of that diversity comes together and makes us that much more powerful.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We will imagine the unimaginable, anticipate the inconceivable, and prepare for the impossible. We won't just think outside the box. We'll think outside the atmosphere.
With each successful mission, Artemis ushers in the next wave of men and women to explore our moon and prove that together we are ready to go beyond.
Artemis is no longer a series of separate parts. and programs. United together, this is the first of Artemis's arrows, capable of ushering in the next chapter of human lunar exploration. Only together, this mighty system represents all that is possible, all that we are capable of when united around a stunning vision, with each component playing its part in a grander effort. We, the people of NASA and our partners, we, the people of the Artemis generation all around this beautiful world, will bear witness to what we are capable of. Together, we are going back to the moon.
2, 1, boosters in ignition, and liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
We are all part of something incredibly special, the first launch of Artemis.
Think of a wish. A meal plan. Give me a cooler.
I'll give you a free swipe. I'll give you a free swipe if you.
Did you?
空飛ぶ羽と引き換えにつなぎ合う手を選んだ僕ら、それでも空に見せられて夢を重ねるのは罪か。 夏をさらに早送るよ。目まぐるしい景色の中、君だけが止まって見えた。君と出会ったあの日からパタリと夜夢は止んだよ。土の中で待ち焦がれた叶えるその時は今だ。重力が眠りにつく千年に一度の今日、花火の音に乗せ僕らこの星を出よう。彼が目を覚ました時連れ戻せない場所へ、せーので大地を蹴ってここではない星へ行こう。もう少しで夢の向こう、もう少しで夢の向こう、もう少しで夢に僕らでを張って来たるべき日のために夜を越えいざ期待だけ満タンで、あとはどうにかなるさと肩を組んだ。怖くないわけないでも止まんない、ピンチの先回りしたって僕らじゃしょうがない。僕らの恋が言う声が言う
apprentice. Welcome home.